even if I try to be kind, approach this subject in the most charitable and friendly way possible, there is no other way to call Bethesda but just shit. Bethesda as a company has no future, it has outstayed its welcome, and I honestly am tired of waiting until its demise. I want to expedite the process at this point. I have, as many of you, completely given up on the hopes that Bethesda will ever honestly become good again. Elder Scrolls 6 is dead, Fallout 5 is dead. I'm at the point where I'm like, hey Bethesda, can you like not make these games? How about that? How about you just don't make and release these new games? Because why would I want to see Elder Scrolls 6 when I know it's gonna be bad? Why would I want to see any of these games that I want so much and I want so much them to succeed when I know Bethesda's just gonna ruin them? We are at the point where where Starfield is worse in quality and worse as a game than horse armor. Yes, Starfield is literally getting outdone by horse armor in every aspect possible. It's just that bad. And no one thinks Bethesda can change. That's the best part. I'm not dooming. The whole world is dooming about how poor and unqualified Bethesda now is at days to, well, do anything, honestly. There's gonna be the Bethesda show season 2 that's gonna completely wreck them. Listen. The show was slop the first season. It completely destroyed, rewrote, and completely eviscerated existing Fallout lore. Because, I mean, it's Hollywood at the end of the day. They hate every source material that they're ever supposed to do because they think that they are better and smarter than everyone else. So, you know, Bethesda effectively just took their lore and threw it to the wolves to be devoured, and that's exactly what happened. But it was lightning in a bottle because it was amazing results, because Fallout at the end of the day is just such an easy to relate and like IP. A lot of normies saw it, a lot of tourists effectively. But that's not going to happen for Season 2. When Season 2 comes, oh my god, no one's going to watch it. All the tourists are going to be gone, and it's going to completely destroy everything that was built. It's over. And after that, the Bethesda's probably going to become even more desperate because, well, Microsoft bought them for $8 billion, and, well, their investment is not really recuperating because, well, that $8 billion effectively brought them Starfield. Starfield, yeah. Horrible. Needless to say, horrible. I have made more than literally 200 Starfield bad videos. I'm not even counting stuff like this Starfield bad, okay? 200 videos talking about how bad Starfield is. And every single time there's something new to talk about. I do not think there is a single thing in Starfield that anyone can point and I would unironically call good game design or a good mechanic or smart or anything. There is nothing. I unironically completely find nothing about Starfield good. And that's modern day Bethesda. In a nutshell.
If you go back to the year 2011, if I say the word Bethesda, what comes to your mind?
Slop.
Excitement? Excellence? The greatest RPG developer of all time? The game
Still
development
slop.
studio was well known for creating some of the best open world games of all time. From Morrowind to Oblivion, Skyrim, both Fallout 3 and 4, they were setting the standards for years.
Fallout 3 was not great. Okay, listen, this is how the Fallout ranking goes for modern releases. New Vegas 4, let's pretend that Fallout 3 doesn't exist. Fallout 3 was garbage, okay?
But it seems whenever someone leaves their role at Bethesda, it is usually with a fear for the company's future. Former lead developer Julian LeFay often vented frustration at their new direction. Bruce Nesmith has shared his fears about their upcoming projects. Even my interview with Jonah Loeb highlighted how much the studio has changed over the years, and not for the better. Well, now we've seen former marketing boss Pete Hines making a few quotes that bring up more concerns than ever. The first article: there's just no question that the company is not the same. In this article, Pete Hines goes on to say, "It was Robert Altman's company and we were his employees, no question, but he treated us more like family and we found a culture that really fit us. When it was working, it was magical. We were a small private company. It's way easier to stay out of scrutiny when you're not having to put your earnings reports out for the whole world. There's just no question that the company is not the same. It has been radically changed and altered from the company that we built. It is what it is. Things change, things move on, but at its height, it was a really special thing to be a part of." This directly reflects what Jonah Loeb said in my interview too, stating that Bethesda were victims of their own success. And now we have this article from Games Radar stating how upset Pete was with the now infamous collector's edition of Fallout 76, with him stating that it...
Oh man, the collector's edition of this was so good. People literally made YouTube careers off of the destruction of 76. The canvas bag was wild, okay? And I was there day one in Fallout 76. You legitimately could not play 30 seconds to a minute without encountering a bug that completely broke the game and took you out of it. It was that bad.
Was an insult, which directly reflects his remarks about Bethesda's obsession over revenue. In this video, I'm going to explain Bethesda's rise, their peak, and their inevitable fall. Before we get started, if you are new here and enjoy video game analysis, reviews, and news, please consider subscribing. Anyway, let's get into it.
Like the video and hype it up on a mobile device if you are here. It takes less than a second and it gratefully helps me out, and I appreciate all of you for doing it. Also, if you believe that this stuff is important and more people should know about, like and hype up the video, because if you like, more people are gonna 100% see this. And, well, if you think it's important that people know how bad Bethesda is, which I personally obviously think is very important that people understand how tragically shit Bethesda is, you know, like and hype. Thank you.
Bethesda Softworks was founded in 1986 by Christopher Weaver. In 1988, Julian LeFay joined the tiny studio, just 4 employees working out of Weaver's house, 2 in development and 2 in admin. At this time, Bethesda wasn't making RPGs, mainly sports games such as Wayne Gretzky Hockey. The game sold well and led to a movie license for the Terminator thanks to Weaver's Hollywood connections. Another key figure, Ted Peterson, soon joined as a writer. He worked on the Terminator 2029 and Rampage, which were both well received, but Bethesda's breakthrough came in '94 with The Elder Scrolls I Arena. Originally a fighting game, staff like LeFay and Peterson shifted its direction towards role-playing. The game shipped with limited RPG mechanics, but it set the stage for its sequel, Daggerfall, a massive open-world RPG with one of the largest game maps ever. LeFay and Peterson built the Elder Scrolls universe and lore that we know today, and Daggerfall's success established Bethesda as a leader in RPGs. Around this time, Todd Howard...
No! Show us the gins!
Joined the team. By 1999, Bethesda faced financial trouble. Weaver partnered with Robert Altman to form ZeniMax Media, Bethesda's new parent company. Disputes soon forced Weaver out, but Bethesda remained central to ZeniMax. Their next big project was the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, with Todd Howard as project lead. Unlike Arena...
Okay, I played Morrowind when I was a kid. I didn't play Oblivion.
And Daggerfall, which relied on procedurally generated content, Howard pushed for a handcrafted map. Leadership sided with him, prompting LeFay's exit, though he did later return and consulted on the project. To shape Morrowind, Bethesda brought in Ken Rolston, a former tabletop RPG designer. His influence gave the game its narrative depth, faction politics, and morally complex decision-making. Released in 2002 on both PC and Xbox.
I don't know about you, but I miss games that actually have morally complex decision-making to a degree. Okay? And when we're talking about anything Skyrim, Morrowind, Elder Scrolls related, I always now bring up Tainted Grail. How in that game you just have decisions that have no really good outcome, but you need an outcome, otherwise nothing's gonna get resolved here. So you have to choose an outcome that you don't necessarily like and you're not sure which one you choose, because everyone's kind of not really morally gray, but everyone's in the wrong in some way, and you're like, yeah, I'm not sure what to do here. I love those decision makings. I love when a decision is actually harder than just being, oh yes, the puppies and kittens are obviously winning over poop. I love when it's an actual harder decision.
Morrowind sold over 4 million copies, introduced console players to RPGs, and cemented Bethesda's reputation. Both Peterson and Julian LeFay left after its release. Next came The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. While it streamlined its RPG mechanics, cutting them back, it looked more polished, offered voice-acted characters, and it sold 9.5 million copies, winning Game of the Year. Ralston then departed shortly afterwards. Bethesda then acquired the Fallout franchise from Interplay, releasing Fallout 3 to strong reviews and 12 million in sales. Bethesda had proven it could build more than just the Elder Scrolls. Their magnum opus arrived in 2011 with the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Though many veterans had left, a young close-knit team pulled it off. As artist Jonah Loeb described in interviews, the group was small, everyone wore...
I was not a fan of Skyrim. I mean, it's okay. Even okay means I have something like 40 hours in it anyway. But you know, it's okay. It wasn't the greatest. The dialogue choices were shit. But it was playable. Somehow you just ended up playing it, even though I personally did not like it that much. That's a good game in general, I think. When you don't really like it that much, when there's not a lot of appeal, but you still play it.
Many hats, and creative freedom was high, almost like a modern indie studio. The result, one of the most successful games ever, selling over 60 million copies.
I think one of the great things about Skyrim is how actually shallow this game is and how truly magnificent it could be. Like, how many items are in this game? Not enough. That's the right answer, okay? How many whip armor sets there are? Not enough. Like 5? I don't know. How fast do you get Daedric armor? I don't know, really fast. How many destruction magics there are? You know, the most popular ones? Not enough. Definitely not enough.
Copies and winning Game of the Year. Bethesda at this point were known as the industry darlings. They created some of the most iconic games ever, always over-delivered on what was expected, and they had a strong relationship with their fans. We trusted them. Bethesda followed this with Fallout 4, its most successful launch, though criticized for shallow writing, limited RPG depth, and a heavy...
I mean, limited RPG depth doesn't even actually begin to describe Fallout 4, okay? I'll remind everyone of the classic Fallout 4 memes. Yes, no, snarky, no, snarky, yes. There you go.
Heavy focus on settlement building.
By the way, do all of those options give you the same result? Well, yes, they do. Yes, they do.
At this point, Bethesda's pattern was clear. Each game looked better, played bigger, and outsold the last. But the cracks were starting to show. With Ralston, Peterson, and LeFay gone, Bethesda drifted from deep role-playing games towards a more action open-world model. Skyrim was technically superior to Morrowind, with better graphics, smoother gameplay, and massive scope, but it offered fewer RPG choices, shallow dialogue, and Radiant quests that felt endless. Fallout 4 doubled down.
I think the reason why the shallow dialogue of Skyrim actually was at least good enough was at least you clicked on those shallow dialogue options because you understood them. It wasn't like in the modern day, everything Bethesda, and you're like, okay. What do I click here? I don't know. Nothing feels like what I would answer. The reason why Baldur's Gate 3, in my opinion, is so successful is because every dialogue you have, there is an option for you that you would be like, oh yeah, I would say this in this situation. Skyrim, you know, maybe it's lukewarm IQ, but at least it offered dialogue options that didn't seem abysmal. Modern day writing for a lot of games is they give you options that you would never say. I mean, look at the Outer Worlds 2, for example, the dialogues that we have seen there. I don't know about you, but I would not fucking pick any of those. Like, all of those options just seem null and void, in my opinion. They're not answers that I would ever pick under any circumstances. And I think if you're gonna make a roleplay game and the dialogues don't offer you anything even remotely close to what you would say in a situation like that as you yourself, it's gonna fail.
Leaning more toward a looter shooter with weak writing and repetitive quest design. The shift was clear. Complex role-playing gave way to streamlined action. So at this point, Bethesda had, on the surface, managed to surpass each previous release in terms of sales and appearance, but underneath, they continued to veer from the original blueprint that led to their early success.
God, such a shitty fucking quest. Literally get into power armor, that's mandatory, otherwise any Molotov cocktail is gonna insta one-shot you. And kill a dead claw with a minigun. Oh, it's such a bad quest.
Great staff had left and were replaced with those with different values. Fans had started to become divided. At this point, the focus became about revenue rather than making great games, as Pete Hines has stated. Fallout 4 introduced paid mods, whereas before they were free. Now they charged for fan creations and took a slice of the pie, introducing a new revenue stream. The Elder Scrolls Online released, which used a subscription expansion model to generate recurring revenue, and Skyrim
Elder Scrolls Online is a complete disaster.
re-released 6 times for 10 consoles in 10 years, giving Bethesda a reason to keep income flowing. Skyrim Anniversary Edition was literally just the base game mixed in with fan-made mods and shipped for full price. Greed had consumed Bethesda. And then in 2019, everything came crashing down with the release of Fallout 76. After the success of Fallout 3 and 4, the
Wait, is that a hijab?
game Bethesda. And then in 2019, everything came crashing down with the release
It is! Or a Fallout New Vegas reference with what's her face. I don't like her as a follower. You know, the Brotherhood of Steel one.
of Fallout 76. After the success of Fallout 3 and 4, the concept of an even bigger game with better graphics and online play seemed like a slam dunk. Up until this point, Bethesda had never missed. Fallout 76, though, launched in a disastrous state, riddled with bugs far beyond Bethesda's usual Bugfesta reputation. Players faced disappearing characters, T-posing enemies, broken quests, crashes, lag, and countless glitches that made the game virtually unplayable.
Yeah, I was not kidding when I said, by the way, elongated necks for opponents, VATs going through walls, bullets going through walls, grenades going through walls, there were so many bugs. It was insane.
Reviews from critics and fans alike were overwhelmingly negative. The game had been developed not by Bethesda's
unkillable enemies
main team, but by their Austin studio, who faced the impossible task of turning the already...
And by the way, some liars are gonna say, oh no, Fallout 76 is now good. No, it's not. It's still fucking garbage. It's just you want slop in your life.
Fragile creation engine into a massive online world 4 times the size of Fallout 4, all under tight deadlines. Corners were cut, features were rushed, and the release was incomplete. Word of its failure spread quickly online, tanking reviews and sales, making it the worst-selling Fallout to date. To make matters worse, when players flooded Bethesda with refund requests, the company initially agreed, but later refused refunds to anyone who had downloaded the game, further enraging fans and damaging their reputation. Fallout 76's problems didn't end with just the game itself. Many fans had pre-ordered the expensive collector's
God, the canvas bag literally made YouTube channels.
edition, advertised to include a high-quality West Tech canvas bag, but when it arrived, buyers found a cheap nylon bag instead.
Oh god, remember when Young was not ridiculed throughout the communities? Neither do I.
Bethesda admitted that the canvas version was too expensive and initially refused to make it right, despite having marketed it differently. After the backlash, they promised real canvas bags within 6 months, but the Redemption website was so poorly built that it leaked users' personal data, and some fans never received their replacements, even today. Another fiasco came with the Nuka-Cola Dark, an $80 collectible rum bottle advertised in a custom Nuka-Cola.
God, this was so funny. I forgot about the rum bottle because it's like it's the canvas bag was the cake, but this was a good slice.
Glass. What customers actually received was a cheap plastic shell.
Yeah. And the best part about this, by the way, anything you put inside there when you try to pour it, because of the rounded edges of the nozzle, it's not gonna pour properly.
Around a regular rum bottle. Fans felt deceived again, and Bethesda's dismissive responses, blaming costs, denying misleading ads, and refusing refunds, only deepened the outrage.
Initially, when the canvas bag was not even delivered, Bethesda said, well, there's actually a worldwide canvas shortage currently. Where did it appear from? We don't know, but it's there, trust me, boy.
Rage. And the worst thing is, they sold this collector's edition for a staggering $300, despite its value being far from that. Pete Hines...
Riot looks at this and literally spits on them. They're selling fucking pixels for 500 at this point, okay? Riot Games is like looking at this and saying amateurs.
...has just said this. My first reaction was, when did we add a canvas bag to this collector's edition? Because the version I approved didn't have one. They were trying to add more value to the collector's edition. We were always fighting with the finance people about margins, right? I would throw fits around. We cannot charge $300 for this. It's insulting. So just from this recently released article, we can really get a strong feeling for what was going on at the studio during this time. They had very...
Finance people like me. Bro, at the end of the day, finance decides anything and everything.
Little regard for their own fan base, essentially just telling them to get over it. Even their marketing director knew it was overpriced. The fans were no longer the priority, the profit was. Now add to that, Fallout 76 veered greatly from previous entries and was solely online with a focus on making revenue. Memberships, pets, fishing, DLCs and microtransactions dominate your screen after logging in, squeezing as much money as possible from players. The majority of fans of single-player games didn't connect with the new entry, but Bethesda didn't care. They locked in on those who did enjoy it, with their goal being to extract as much money as possible from the way...
By the way, this is not a joke. Fallout 76 is literally designed to just make people spend money in it. The people who are left, by the way, playing it, it's gonna be like this. Okay? The only people left playing Fallout 76, even at this point, are level like 100 and things like that. And that takes a while, okay? That's not something you can actually get that fast unless you're actively trying and farming experience, which no one playing this game is. And these are the only people playing it. Now, granted, Bethesda games have really interesting fan bases, and Fallout 76, even though they're definitely slop eaters, they're nice people. Most of those people are really nice. They're gonna help you. They're gonna give you free items as a new player if they see you. You're like a zoo exhibit for them, effectively, because they have nothing. Because, you know, seeing someone level 1 or 20 is the rarest thing in the game at this point. So, you know, they're gonna treat you really well and try to indoctrinate you into thinking that this is a good game. Elder Scrolls Online players are absolutely goated, because they are jaded as fuck. They know that Bethesda is trying to squeeze money out of them. They know Elder Scrolls Online is slop. The average Elder Scrolls Online player is gonna, without hesitation, actually admit that Elder Scrolls Online is a bad game. But they don't have anything else Elder Scrolls to play, so this is the best thing, because at least it gets updated time to time. So that's what they're playing. But almost all Elder Scrolls Online players are just gonna be like, oh yeah, this game's shit. It's really bad. But there's nothing else to play, so I'm playing it. They actually... Hey, World of Warcraft players would never admit that World of Warcraft is slop.
Who played that game. Microtransactions look good on the bottom line. With this new strategy, Bethesda were no longer seen as the darlings of the industry, and this new entry reflected their shift in direction. They went from providing some of the greatest open world RPGs of all time to catering to a more mainstream audience, to then providing an online MMO. After this game's release, Bethesda's reputation took a beating, but it would only get worse in 2020 when Microsoft announced they would acquire the company for $7.5 billion. After this, Starfield would be released. Now, I've made about 6,000 videos on why Starfield was a letdown, which will be linked
I have made more.
In the description.
A lot more.
Here's a short summary. Starfield ultimately disappointed because it abandoned the studio's strongest feature, handcrafted open worlds in favor of bland procedurally
we talked about this is actually incorrect. Starfield Shattered Space, the expansion that literally no one played, even though everyone got it for free, which proved how bad Starfield as a game is in general. The fact that people didn't even choose to come back for a free expansion, and no one talked about it even. Starfield Shattered Space had a fully handcrafted world and narrative, and it's arguably stupider and more slop than the main game. House Faroon is a bunch of people who don't understand emotions and have a culture that tattoos their face for no reason. They don't explain nothing. And at any moment you can challenge someone to a duel, just kill them, and it's like, yep, this seems about right. Now you get all the things that the baby that's 1 year old that you challenged owns. It's the dumbest shit ever. Shattered Space was the moment, the true moment when absolutely everyone who's trying to, who followed Bethesda went, wow, there's no way any game that Bethesda ever makes is gonna be good again.
Generated planets, repetitive copy-paste dungeons and empty exploration. Weak writing, unimaginative lore, lifeless quests, and shallow role-playing compounded the problem, leaving little reason to keep playing.
No, role-playing should be the right term.
After the first 20 hours. While a small fanbase remains loyal, most saw Starfield as a directionless experiment that once again moved away from the formula that had made Bethesda successful. The game flopped. So Microsoft came in and began implementing changes immediately with a bigger emphasis on turnover. Elder Scrolls Online changed for the worse, video here, 76 went harder on microtransactions, and the Oblivion remaster released with minimal changes and for full price. Whilst Microsoft has publicly emphasized...
Well, yeah, well actually there's a lot of censorship that went in the Oblivion remake, turns out. As someone who did not play Oblivion as a kid, I did not know this, but there is a lot of censorship in the remake, by the way. All of the models have been pretty much censored. A lot has been censored. It's like, it's an unreasonably high amount, in fact. Oh, but in any case, 10 out of 10. That was AVV Gaming. Bye.